Hello, welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. Some other things I'm working on. I'm a featured speaker at the Military Career Conference in Arlington, Texas, April 16th, April 18th. I'll be talking about how you can leverage your content for better opportunities and why you should start now as a content creator. I'm also a U.S. Market Development Director for TechBank, a software development firm with over 150 developers. If you have enterprise software, we can help you out. I'm also an Earth Fellow for Earth VC. Earth VC invests in deep tech startups that helps the world get better. Our guest today is Hugo Nicolas. Hugo, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yes. Hugo, so we're going to get to what you do later on, but first, you're a big history buff, right?
Yes.
So you used to watch the History Channel, stuff like that?
I did. Loved it.
Any like favorite section of part of history?
Probably World War II.
Okay.
Yeah. I really loved how, we all came together for the greater good. And really, specifically, I'm thankful for the sacrifice those individuals did to put us where we are today.
Isn't it crazy though? Like Germany almost beat the whole world twice.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think people think about that, right? They almost beat the whole world twice.
Yeah.
I really don't know much World War history, but World War II, like, if not for some tactical errors by Hitler, like, it decided to invade Russia. Before he invaded Russia, he decided to mess around with Yugoslavia. That took some time away. What's for like, if you were just listening to generals, we might be speaking German right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. World War II history is pretty amazing, right? How we all came together. But as soon as it was over, like, us and Russia became instant enemies. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I don't think the U.S. gets enough credit for. Is like any other country in the history of the world after World War II, they would like took over the world, dominator, right? Made everyone American, but we didn't. Like we actually like paid people money. Like when the history of the world did a country was like, hey, I know we just beat you, destroy your economy, but here's like millions of dollars. I still don't think we get enough credit for that. And I could be wrong. I think it's called the Marshall Plan. Like I think only Finland paid us back for that.
Huh.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. So what about World War II history? Like really entertains you or speaks to you?
What really I enjoy the most, I think, or not enjoy the most, but I think what was really interesting for me, just learning about specifically how individuals just were really defending their values and really going out there. I think the other thing specifically on that, when I came to the United States long ago, when I was 11 years old, I really saw myself in there because I was like, I want to be able to, you know, I guess be uphold the American way of life, and in terms of how I saw it at that time. And one of my biggest things that I wanted to do at that time was to join the military.
And you were born in Veracruz, Mexico.
Yes, Veracruz, Mexico. Yes.
And so, for those that don't know, like during so is it called the Mexican American War, Texas American War? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but correct. The Texas American War. Yes.
And that because didn't they do it like major battle in Veracruz?
Yeah. So I grew up in Veracruz, which is in the Gulf of Mexico. For those that don't know, which is out in towards the southeast of Mexico, and very very humid and hot weather out there. Where I grew up in a small village of maybe 500 people. We all kind of depended on the sugarcane industry. But yes, specifically Veracruz is known because that's where a lot of invasions have started from or have come to, and also for those that just are passionate about history and want to learn something today. That's also kind of the last stronghold of Mexico, where they'll either Mexican presidents, or they'll kind of hide the Constitution from those foreign interventions that have happened.
It's interesting how like there's always two sides of the story, right? 'Cause I know like I'm from Texas because I heard about the Alamo come and take all the stuff, right? We heard from the Texas side, right? But in college, we actually had to read a book. I can't remember. It was written by General Santa Anna, one of his people, but it was like the side of the war from their side, right? And they were basically like, these ungrateful gringos, we gave them all this land, we let them settle, and now they're doing all this bullshit with us. So it was like it was interesting to see their side of the story, the other side of the story, right?
Yes. It's always interesting to hear both perspectives, and yeah, it's always I always like to learn everything as much as I can, and just be able to. I think for me and my kind of background, it's always interesting to see how that plays out into who I am today.
Can you talk a little bit about how your upbringing was in Veracruz?
Yeah, so it was like I mentioned, very small village. We were very close with our family members, so we on a kind of what we would call, I guess, a barbecue here. Over there, it was more about getting together every weekend with our family members, and we will have about 20 cousins just playing soccer out there. And then also our families will get together to cook something and go to church. So it was very simple lifestyle, and everybody kind of depended, like I mentioned, on the sugarcane production. So there were seasons where it was very busy, and at the same time, it was from I was born until I was 11. That's kind of what I remember the most, and really grateful that I had that I grew up there.
So next, I want to go back through some kind of your hobbies, right? So first, skydiving, right?
Yes.
Are you just insane, or you just like you do that all the time? Was it a one and done thing?
No, so actually, so I'm trying to get my certification. So I've done 2 jumps so far, and I would say I'm afraid of heights for sure. And I think I wanted to do this as just give it a try of like overcome my fear. So I'm very big on that and just trying something very different. So I've been kind of, I guess, getting more, I guess, like challenging myself to just get out of my comfort zone.
And so, like, how does it work? Like, you go up there. Like I can see me like going to get skydiving. Like that's been like I don't want to go. Do they still like push you out, kind of, sort of, or like you can always like back out when you want to?
You definitely want to, I think, go out, because I feel like it'd be a little bit dangerous if you're like, hey, I can't do this. Definitely you're committed once you're in the airplane and you have 2 individuals that are right next to you, and then they're making sure that you're following your process and you're doing your equipment checklist essentially as you're going up and elevation. And obviously I think at least for me, the first jump was tandem, so I was attached to somebody. Then the second is like you're going solo, and essentially you take a class of like 5 hours literally, and they're like, hey, we're gonna put you in an airplane and you're ready to go. But obviously they'll go through a whole process of things you need to know and things to make sure. But once you're up there, you jump out, and then there's essentially 2 people holding you, and then you're doing your check progress, and after that you just deploy the parachute.
I think one I would be scared of, not jumping. I would be afraid when I would land wrong. I would break my legs in half. Right. I think that's what I would be afraid of. Like I would land wrong, I'd snap my legs.
Yeah, that is definitely the most scary part, because I think everything is like there's a process and it's pretty straightforward, and you're like, okay, your parachute's working, so that's great. You'll live. But then once like the landing part, I think that's like the second phase of like
broken legs, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure there's no ambulance right there or nothing, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Because you could get pretty injured on the landing, and they'll walk you through that process. So you just got to build the confidence and follow the process.
So you might not know this, but how do they make sure that the person's in the right mental state of mind, right? Like they're not like, want to do self-harm themselves. Like they're like doing this, like do something bad. Like how do they know, okay, this Jason is in the right frame of mind. He wants to do this for the venture, not because, he's depressed or anything like that.
I think definitely when you're going through the training, they have you do a lot of, so they'll walk you through the process, and everybody's watching. So you kind of have to have that confidence, and you can see like everybody's paying attention. Everybody's
you
like,
look at cues and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I always wondered that, right? Yeah. That's probably bad. Then, so you also do mountain biking, another kind of dangerous thing.
Yes. Yeah. I really love that sport. Got into
You ever bust your ass mountain biking?
Oh, yes, definitely. A lot of bruises, a lot of injuries that I've had, but I really love it. I'm passionate. I think I've done it for 3 years now, and got introduced through my friends that love the outdoors.
You have a favorite trail somewhere?
Probably anywhere, Raging River. So I love that area, and also anywhere in Bellingham. There's great mountain biking out there.
Bellingham, better known as South Canada.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, man, like, so first of all, when do you have time to sleep? Do you even sleep?
I try to, yes, definitely. Okay. I definitely. It's funny because I was just meeting with my doctor, and I was like, I probably average about 5 to 6 hours of sleep.
Are you good with that, or you need more?
I definitely think you need more.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I would say if I'm hitting 6 or 7, that's an accomplishment for me.
Yeah. Then weightlifting.
Yes.
You do that twice a week, 3 times a week?
Yeah, I do that. I do two to 3 times a week. I think right now that was so like I started that probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I've lost about 100
Oh,
pounds.
wow.
That was really great experience, and weightlifting has been like my to go. And I got to a point where I was benching 315 because
Nice.
I had a really great trainer.
Nice.
And that was really cool to just do that. And I think for me, it's just being about getting out of my comfort zone and trying something that I didn't know anything about.
Yeah, most people don't realize that if you lift weights, it can actually help lose weight. They think to lose weight, run, calisthenics, jumping rope, whatever. But lifting weights can actually help you lose weight. People don't realize that.
Yes, it was kind of interesting, kind of watching that process. And I got to a point where I was like eating a lot, and I was like, I'm still cutting weight, but yeah.
Do you happen to know what your body fat was back then and what it is now?
No, I don't remember
Okay.
because it's been a while since I've done that. So yeah, but it was definitely, yeah, it was 330. I'm in like 250 right now, but I'm trying to hit 230, 220 for my marathon run that's coming up.
Wait, you say you gonna what the fuck? Damn, Hugo,
Yeah.
you like trying to do everything.
Yeah, I'm just really enjoying the outdoors and getting
That's
out of
good,
my
though.
comfort zone. So
That's more
yeah.
people to do that. I think too many people, especially in America, like they get up at 6 in the morning, eat a donut, drink some coffee, drive to work at a job they fucking hate, get a case of beer on the way home, drink a 12-pack, watch Netflix, and just complain about there's nothing to do with life, right?
I would definitely say self-care is like the most important thing that I learned after COVID.
Yeah.
And I think that's been my priority ever since after that. I think that sometimes like there's so much going on that
Yeah.
it's like when do you I guess what I call it a little bit selfish to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And the three things is like emotionally, physically, and mentally. And
Yeah.
I think you have to make sure you're doing that.
You do, yeah. And a lot of people don't do that, right? Because I usually ask that question, like, how do you take care of yourself? But you already said that, right? Even made some people say, well, actually, I don't, But but it's kind of hard, right? Because, like, a lot of people, man, they want to go gym. They wake up. Do I drive to the gym, work out, come back, take a shower, or do I use this time to, like, work on my business, right?
Yes.
It's always, but, I mean, you have to take care of yourself. Even it's like 30 minutes a day doing yoga or something, meditation, right?
Yeah, I think I would say it doesn't take very much, right? I think it just depends on what everybody's really into and kind of how do they decompress at the end of the day, but just making sure that you're building that onto your everyday or like just once a week or once a month, just really depends on who you are.
Yeah. So how often are you trying to do skydiving once a month?
So right now, because of the season, I'm taking a break, but I'll probably be back once the sunny days start and just kind of finish my certification.
What's the price to do that? Is it pretty expensive or?
It's pretty. I would say it's pretty reasonable. It can get a little bit expensive. So I think the way it works, it's about $250, I believe, and depends. There's a lot of schools out there, but that's the starting point, and that will get you the class and at least one or two jumps. And some people do it like in phases, like. A certain price will get you at least one or two jumps and then three, and you have to do up to 10-ish in order to be able to just do it by yourself.
And you have to buy your own equipment, or you can rent the equipment out?
You can rent the equipment. So yeah, it's really nice because it's expensive.
I can imagine, yeah. Are there a lot of like skydiving places here?
Yeah, there is.
I would imagine, especially I can imagine like doing a jump, how beautiful it is, especially during the summertime.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's really cool. I think you get a massive rush, and I think after that reality hits and you're like, oh my god, is something gonna happen? But once you deploy that parachute and you're like,
and plus once you jump out, it's okay, it is what it is. Like if you get like a music car ride, a roller coaster ride, there's nothing you do. Like if the roller coaster goes off the rails and crashes, there's nothing you can do, right?
Yeah,
just help you survive.
Yeah.
So from the time you jump to the time you land, how long is that actually?
I would say it's a few seconds, but I mean at least the first 3 jumps that I've done, it felt forever, but I wouldn't say a few seconds. It's a couple minutes.
Okay.
But I think what feels the longest is like when you're doing the first jump solo and you get on that airplane and you get really nervous and you're like, oh my god, am I actually ready for this? And you're like, get to the edge of the plane and you're looking down to the side and into towards the propeller and you're like, am I actually ready for this? And you're like, you just kind of do it. But yeah.
how high up is the plane?
About I believe it's 13 or 15,000. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of high, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the same level that airplanes actually fly at when they like
I think it's
747s?
Yeah, I think it's higher than that definitely because that's like I think that's like Rainier, which that's the way I think about it.
For some reason, I was thinking it was like maybe a couple thousand feet in the air. I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, so it's
So
yeah.
can you see the ground from? I mean, obviously you can see the ground from up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think things get bigger. I think you're like
Oh,
when
do
you're
they?
coming down, you're like, okay, I think that looks like pretty good place to land. Well, you obviously have a place, but you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that looks pretty flat. And then once you get closer, you're like, yeah, that's definitely not flat.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I'm guessing the wind affects the landing and everything. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So you have to be watch for the wind when you're landing and
Mhm.
how you land. There's a pattern that you have to follow. Everybody that, from what I understand, everybody does it a little bit different. But
Is
yeah.
there a weight limit? Because I know the bigger you are, the faster you fall. Like, suppose someone's like 800 pounds, or they say, no, you can't jump because you're going to fucking like
Yes.
drop instantly.
So that was what got me started about my whole cutting weight
Mhm.
journey, because I was like, I want to be able to solo jump someday, because the weight limit is 230. So
Okay.
yeah.
Always
So
wondered about that. So change the subject. So you're passionate about youth development. Can you talk about that?
yeah. So one of the things that I am passionate about, specifically with my story, growing up in the U.S. and specifically coming from Mexico, the area where I'm from, there was just not a lot of opportunities. You essentially went to school, and your what you were going to end up doing is probably kind of working the sugarcane plantation or the factory, and just and kind of take that job. So there was never thinking about like, hey, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? Um, Once I got to the U.S., I want to say I became who I am today because it took a village, and there
Mhm.
was a lot of opportunities and programs that helped me realize that you can be successful and you can do whatever you want to do in life. And so I think after realizing like what I've accomplished, I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm also building the doors for other youth and who might not see it now, but just be able to accomplish what they want to do in life.
Let me ask you this. So I'm sure this will never happen, right? But suppose you're trying to mentor someone, try to bring someone along, and you're like, this kid's not getting it right. Like this kid, like you don't say this kid's wasting my time, but man, this kid's not getting it right. Do you like still try to keep reaching out to him? You're like, okay, if I spend time on him, it's wasting my time. Or I could better spend on someone else. Like, how do you approach that?
That's a good point. I think for me, I'm a slow learner, and so I'm always like, I'm grateful that people are patient, and people that I work with. So I think sometimes it just takes the right approach. I think one of the things that I happen to be good at is math, and it was like I was really bad in middle school, and in high school something just clicked, and it was because actually I had a really great teacher who took a different approach on that and became really good at math. And so anyway, so I think it really is the approach, right, on how you do that and just how that person learns and what are their strengths and kind of building from that. Because sometimes I feel like, at least from my experience and my opinion, what I learned, right, it's like it's the approach and how that's been done. Yeah.
So, are there any specific programs you work with to mentor people, or you do it like pretty much on your own?
I do it pretty much on my own. I know that um, when I was in college, I would try to kind of work with my friends, and then also um, with my kind of local community. And I think right now, specifically, like what's taking a lot of my time is just my current job, and then also kind of all the outdoor stuff that I do.
Yeah. So, talk a little about your journey from Veracruz to where you are today, right? And how did this journey, like everything you went through, how did it shape the person you are today?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I came to the United States when I was 11 years old, and I crossed specifically the border at that time. And just disclosure, I'm a green card holder now, so I have my residency. But yeah, at that time I came here not knowing any English. I arrived in Oregon, where I want to say that's where I grew up, and I think going to school definitely it was difficult for me because I didn't know the language. One of the things that I always remember, it was when one day freshman year of high school, I was like, I want to be competitive because I want to make sure that I can fit in. I knew that as an undocumented individual, like the main thing that I wanted to show people was that I'm just like anybody else, and I want to make sure that they know that I want to be here and be part of this community where I belong. So I decided to get really involved in my kind of different things, from sports in high school to the police cadet program, fire cadet program, and some ROTC program that we had in high school. And one of the things that I also did was I went from regular actually learning English classes in high school to honors classes, and that was a massive jump for me because I'm translating the content and then I'm trying to understand what I'm being asked from my teachers at that time. So definitely took on that challenge, and it was a life journey that made me who I am and being resilient. But I think at that time, yeah, yeah.
So talk about the time you decided to make it public that you were like undocumented. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a life-changing point there. That was in 2011, 2012, down in Oregon at the legislature. I was really scared to share my story. And at that time, one of my best friends, I was like, hey, maybe you should go share my story so I don't have to do it. And he was like, no, you should do it because it's really about you. And it was also a decision that I made because I was really concerned about the risk that could happen after disclosing that. And during a testimony at the legislature, I think I was just getting really frustrated because I'm like, at that time, I was just about to leave high school and it's like honors program, and people are asking you like, where are you going to school? And hey, can we write recommendation letters? And reality was hitting where it's like, oh, I can't even get an ID to go to the movies because being undocumented doesn't allow you to have that, and it doesn't allow you to go to at that time in 2011 to go to undergrad school, and you will have to pay international fees. So in that day, in that session, I just decided to just say, hey, I'm undocumented and here are all these barriers. And specifically what we were talking about that time was something we call tuition equity, which essentially would allow undocumented individuals that are finishing 4-year high school in the state of Oregon to be able to qualify as in-state students when applying for a college at University of Oregon. So that was the reason why I was kind of testifying there and share my story. And one of the things that I talked about was that I always think about when I did that, I always kind of said, like, I think I'm going to get deported after doing that. So I was super scared that somebody would show up at my door.
Do you regret doing that?
I think I don't, because the way I was seeing it from my experience was that I'm like, okay, maybe my dreams are over and I won't get to where I want to be, but maybe this will build a door for those behind me.
So why do some people say undocumented and some people say illegal? Is it safe to assume people say undocumented like kind of like pro, this, and people say illegal aliens like want to kick them all out?
I think I would say that you always want to say undocumented because I think nobody is in terms of like illegal, and I think it's like a negative reference nowadays. So I think for me, I would say undocumented because there's no an actual process to apply for your green card. So yeah.
So for people to know, like, how hard is a process to do it, quote unquote, the right way?
So specifically in my situation, where I was at that time, there was no path to a green card or citizenship, and I kind of knew that going through high school, but I was
and that's the back of the days. I think it's called DACA or Dreamers.
Yes,
is that still around? Or is that a foregone? Is that done away with?
No, so that's still a program that is currently happening.
Okay.
Essentially, after high school, one of the things that really helped me open doors for me was DACA, which stands, oh my God, it's been a while, Deferred Childhood Arrival. I'm forgetting the name right now. I'm spacing it out. But that's what allowed me to be able to get a work permit, a driver's license, and be able to attend college and get a job. So that was really good opportunity. And it's specifically, you still have to go through a whole process and application where they check your background. They do a lot of checks on you. So yeah.
Yeah, I one thing I think people realize, like, like there's always two sides, right? So America, obviously, a country of immigrants, but people don't realize, like, we have a lot of anti-immigrant stuff too. Like way back the day, it was like there would be like no Irish, no Italians need to apply. There'd be anti-Chinese laws, anti-yellow laws. It's always been like that, unfortunately, right? And I remember like back when I was like, it was Ronald Reagan, George Bush. They were like pro-immigrant. It's just like I don't know, right? It's just all over the place, right? I don't think there's really no good answer because obviously, like, you don't want like, you know, quote unquote bad people, like 10,000 people, like criminal records to come in. But my thing has always been like, if a mother comes here from Honduras with 33 kids, like, isn't that the type of person we want in America, right? Someone that drive and stuff like that, you know? So and I also think each time someone gets to office, they'll always go too far, right? Like with ICE, like I get in trouble with this ICE. I could think they do things because they were like arresting criminals, you know, people like arrest records, but like I think they were too far, right? And I think the previous administration, I think we're too far letting everyone in, right? So I don't know. I'm not smart enough, have enough money to figure out the right solution, but it's something's not working right.
I would say, from my experience and just from what I can share, definitely there was a lot of barriers for me to kind of be to integrate to the community because I was like at that time I was like I feel like I can do a lot more and contribute more to our society and our economy if I'm just allowed to go to college, if I'm able to work, than if I didn't.
Yeah. So why Oregon? Like when I think Oregon, I don't think of like Hispanic communities, right?
Yeah.
So why Oregon?
There's a lot of farming jobs out there,
Okay.
so that was the primary reason why we ended up in Oregon.
What was there sugar cane there also?
No, in Oregon.
Oregon, yeah.
No. They have different like uh, blackberries, cherries.
So wasn't your father, grandfather a sugar cane worker?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so where did they work at?
So my grandfather specifically worked at the sugarcane down in Mexico.
Okay.
And, yeah. So.
Like I know sugar cane's not good for you, man. Sugar cane tastes so damn good to me. I love sugar cane.
Yeah.
I know it's probably taking years off my life when I drink a cup of it, but yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you moved here when you went to Oregon at 11, right?
Yes.
You know English, know whatever. Like, and so do you just like start going to school? How's that work? Like,
Yeah, you just kind of you just start going to school. To be honest, I don't know much about that process,
Yeah.
but all I remember was like there was a couple applications that I needed to fill out and showed up, and that was pretty much it. And I think from what I can remember, it was I just showed up to a class and the teacher was saying some words, and yeah.
so for your journey, do you think it kind of gives you a chip on your shoulder, like prove everyone that you do belong, that you can outwork Americans, all that kind of stuff?
I think what's important for me is that what I always say is like I want to be able to fit in and just be able to be a normal person just like every day, right? And I think sometimes being being an immigrant, it's always like I feel like at least for me I always wanted to show like, hey, I love this country, I want to be part of it,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure that I am doing the right thing, and then making sure that I am also, yeah.
So this is gonna be a dumb question, but I don't know the answer, right? So suppose someone's undocumented, right, and they get a job, they still pay taxes and everything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing a lot of people get messed up. They think because if someone's not, here legally, they get a paycheck and have to pay taxes, but they still pay taxes, right?
Yes.
I think a lot of people don't get that. I don't think.
Yeah, and that's in the IRS tax code too as well that you are required to.
So here's a question: like, suppose someone's undocumented, right? And they have a job and they're paying taxes. Wouldn't the IRS know they're undocumented, and then couldn't the IRS like call someone and say, "Hey, Jason's not supposed to be here"?
I'm not really sure about that,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. And how often do you go back to Mexico?
I try to go back at least once a year.
Okay.
And then most of the time I visit family. I think something that has been really interesting for me is just learning more about our culture and specifically on the indigenous culture because that's, I feel like, something that I miss growing up over there.
Next question. So I'm from Texas. I kind of know what good Mexican food tastes like. There's really nothing up here that comes close, right? Do you have any like favorite go-to Mexican restaurants that I can go to?
I'm trying to think. There is like this really great taco car down in Tacoma, and I'm
Mhm.
forgetting where
Okay.
it's located, but that's a really good taco place. You can go to Yakima, find great options. Obviously, that's a drive out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think I'm always I specifically love tacos.
Yeah.
And there's this also great Salvadorian restaurant, Mi Tierra, down in Lakewood as well.
There's,
So
you
yeah,
know, there used to be I don't know if it's there anymore, but me and my wife used to go to the Salvadoran restaurant in downtown Olympia. That used to be pretty good. But I
yes,
think
yeah.
that, I don't know if they're still open or not. I haven't been in Olympia for so long.
I just moved there, so I've
Yeah.
only been there for like about 5 months. I'm still
Yeah.
exploring the area.
Yeah. So what led you into working with small businesses?
um, definitely for me, it was actually going to University of Oregon. I took it was like one of those like random classes that you have to take as like your general requirements, and at that time I was doing business administration, so I took an economics class. Really was passionate about what I learned in there, specifically on macroeconomics and policy. And one of the things that was really eye opening to me was how those policies had a huge impact on the way of lifestyle that I had in Mexico, and how specifically for where I'm from, like a small village, and some of the how those policies were having an impact personally and also in the economy around us. So I was like, okay, I want to learn a little bit more about this concept that I don't know about. And it was, and that's kind of what led me into supporting small businesses. And specifically, one of the things that I was focusing on majorly was like finance, and just kind of learning and getting more comfortable with that, because I'm like, that's definitely an opportunity of mine that I feel like I need to see how money works and the flow of it, and just kind of understanding basic things, and got me into banking.
So you work for something called the Washington State Office for Regulatory Innovation Assistance, ORA. What in the F is that, right? What I mean, that's just I mean, it sounds so bureaucratic to me, right? So can you kind of break it down and show what you actually do?
Yes. So our official name is the Governor's Office for Regulatory Innovation and Assistance, and we go by ORIA for short. And what we do in our agency, we support small businesses. We One of our focuses is to help them navigate the regulatory process. So we know that as a small business owner, you're going to have a lot of questions when it comes to requirements, permits, licenses, taxes. And our main role is to help those individuals connect to the right agency, or help them find the right information that they need. Because sometimes we know that can be hard. You end up with like about 5 different websites and a bunch of paragraphs, and we just want to simplify that for business owners.
So how you do this? Like, so people who don't know about the state of Washington actually be two states, right? West of the Cascades and into the east of the Cascades, right? So how do you make sure the service you provide, like the people in Seattle, Tacoma, are the same service you provide, like people in the eastern part of the state?
So one of the things that we are doing within our agency is that we are making sure that we go to where customers are at. So we are focusing on outreaching to communities from everywhere in Washington. We were just this past week in Friday Harbor, Bellingham, Cedar Woolley. We've been to Ilwaco, so we're going everywhere, and we're making sure that we let individuals know of all the different services and programs that are available to them, because we want to make sure that they know that agencies can help them, and there is things that can make things. Ideally, what we want to make sure that's happening is that we help them save time, costs, and complexity.
When should a small business owner reach out to you? Should be like when he has a problem, or like when he doesn't, like he just has a business idea. What stage should someone like start talking to y'all?
Anytime. So if you are a starting business and don't know where to go and just have a ton of questions, we can point you to the right direction, or we can tell you what are the steps that you need to take. If you're a growing business and you're like, hey, I need to research a little bit more about permit, or I'm working on a project that's going to impact air, land, or water. What do I need to know? We can help them and support them and find an answer for them.
So what's y'all's definition of small business? 'Cause I think the SBA small definition is like 500 employees or less. For to me, that's not a freaking small business, you know. So what's y'all's definition of a small business?
Specifically for us, we don't. I would say yes. there is multiple definitions and depends what agency you're talking to, and there's also the federal level. But for us, what we consider small businesses is anybody with under 50 employees. But truly, the mission of our agency is to help any business, does not matter the size. I think one of our focuses has been specifically on small businesses, because we know that they we want to make sure that we're connecting them to the right resources, and that they know that there's help available out there, especially when, if you're like a single person, right, you're doing multiple things where you're running the operations of the business. To You also need to know, you be a specialist on permits and licenses, and you also are, doing your own payroll. So our goal is to make sure that we're connecting with those individuals, and we're helping them through that process. But overall, we cover all small businesses. But no, I don't think that there's a specific definition. I think for us, we just, yeah.
Okay. And whether they deserve or not, I think a lot of times instead of Washington, especially over here in Seattle, they're kind of been pegged as like being anti-small business, right? I know a lot of small business in Seattle, they always complain like, you got to get this permit, you got to do that, you got to do that, right? Why do you think the state of Washington, whether they deserve or not, has this reputation of being like almost anti-small business?
I wouldn't be able to answer that specifically. Yeah, I don't think. I would say one of the things that we try to do is creating access to small business, like creating access to the regulatory process. So I know that sometimes that can be really difficult because there's multiple things that you have to know and do. And our goal is just making sure that we are improving in that process, and that we're directing them to where they need to go.
So what are some mistakes you see small business owners making?
I think I would say there's two things. I think one of the from my personal opinion, one of the things is like, do you have a business plan, and do you know what you want to accomplish? So one of the times I feel like sometimes we get really excited or you might get really excited, you have a business idea and you want to run with it. But also, one of the things that I always recommend is making sure that you have a solid business plan, and it doesn't have to be a whole strategic 5-year plan. It could be something very simple, but it just making sure that it's meeting the goal and the outcome that you want to have. If you want to make sure that 5 years from now you're running a mid-sized business, or you're just running, something to supplement your income. So just making sure that you know what you want to do.
Can you talk about this? I think a lot of people start a business because they're a good cook or a good tattoo artist, right? And they ignore what I call the unsexy part, the taxes, the administration, right? Think about the importance of business owner. Like, no, you got to do this unsexy stuff.
Yeah, that's the part that's really difficult and time consuming. And one of the things that I think when we think about this, it's like, think about the time that you're going to have to spend, and think about how much information you're going to need to know. And I think it's a big step to make, but I feel like it's like, that's why you're doing it, because you're a risk taker. So yeah.
Has there been a time when someone came to you with a business idea, or like talking to you, and you thought to yourself, or maybe you told them, hey, you have a great idea, but man, like, you need to wait a while, right? Your ducks in a row, your plan ain't good. Like, maybe not today, maybe let's work on this maybe 4 or 5 months and come back and maybe look at it again.
I am a big believer that anybody can succeed and everybody has a big chance. So what I think a lot of the times individuals will reach out to us for help and support. And I think one of the things that I always just try to make sure that they lean on, it's like, hey, there's tools that the state provides. There's also resources out there from training groups, and kind of like, I'm like, go talk to them. They're the experts, right? They can help you think about your idea a little bit more depth.
So what is an advantage of doing a small business here in the state of Washington?
The advantage is that 99% of our economy is based on small businesses. There is a lot of competition. So that's always good. And I think that the biggest thing is that for the Pacific Northwest is that we love what's local, and we want to make sure that who we're buying from, that we know them, that we connect with them. So I think that relationship is really strong out here. And I would say that that's the really unique thing about Washington.
So what's one thing about the starting a business process, or the entire small business process, whether starting it or running it, that you wish entrepreneurs kind of understood better?
I think I would say there's two things in the regulatory process. Where I can speak the most is making sure you know which agency you need to reach out to first, and what does that process look like. Um, Also, um, learning like what is the time cost, because sometimes it's like there's kind of a cost of starting the business, right? And the application fees, and also any local permits and requirements that will also take time. So being aware of that and kind of working with those agencies to see how you can reduce that time, the cost, making sure that you know what programs are already available that can help you boost. See if there's any loans or grant opportunities. So that would be one. And in my previous life, where I was in the banking industry, I think with somebody starting a business is making sure that they're building their credit. I think that's another big thing, because that can create barriers in the future. So that's more of a long-term planning process, but it's making sure that they're working on yeah.
Is business credit and personal credit two different things, or are they one and the same?
Um, I'm not an expert on that, but I would say it depends on the financial institution.
Okay.
So every institution does it a little bit different. In general, if you're a new business owner, they might lean a little bit more on your personal credit, and some financial institutions require you to have some type of financials that you can provide. But every institution is a little bit different. So making sure that you're aware of that. And some institutions can put the debt only on the business, some will put it on your personal. So at the end of the day, everything is connected. But with that added to as well, something I forgot to mention with the permitting process too as well. Um, Another common thing that we see across the state, that we hear often, is that individuals sometimes start as a sole proprietor, and just because that's a better option for them at that time.
Yeah.
But then when they convert to an LLC, it's like starting from zero.
Yeah.
So we hear that from Secretary of State, where a lot of individuals struggle, because it's like, okay, now I have to submit new applications, and I have to create a new system, go to my bank also, and change maybe an account number. So just kind of being aware of those things.
Yeah. I'll make this up, but are there stats out? Oh, well, first of all, you always hear the stat like 90% of small business fail. Is that an actual accurate stat, or is that made up?
No, it's accurate.
Okay.
I think when we put together what makes up those small businesses, we realize that it's truly those small shops.
Is there a stat out there that shows, like, if you're like, I'll make this up, a veteran-owned business or Hispanic-owned business or women-owned business, or blank-owned business, that there's a more likely or less likely chance of you making or failing? Like, do like 50% veteran business fail because of veterans? If that makes any sense, or
Yeah, I see the question, but we don't have any. I'm trying to think if there's any data that suggests that. I think there's small reports, like for example, Department of Commerce, the technical assistance report that they came up with about 3-4 years ago, that has some data in there, but I can't. Yeah, I don't know that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so no, I'm a retired Army officer. So, what is there any specific programs y'all have for veteran-owned businesses?
Yeah, so we have a certification. One of the things that if the Washington State Veteran Affairs, they can get your business certified if you're a veteran. And specific to why that might be a benefit, I think two things that come to mind is the certification is really good to have if you're looking to contract with the state, right? So if your business fits that model, which I'm not an expert on that, right? But if your business fits that model, definitely it's why you want to make sure that you get certified. And also with OMWBE, the link deposit program, where you can get a discount on the loans that you apply for specific institutions that they work with.
So why is multilingual support and accessibility so important to you?
I think with my personal experience, not knowing any English, I think one of the things that I want to mention is I was always in class sitting down, and I'm like, I know the answer, but I wouldn't say the answer because I was too afraid to say it, because I'm like, they're gonna laugh at my English. And sometimes too, you went somewhere, some cities where you're talking to your local government, and there's nobody that speaks your language. So you kind of feel like, but that makes up a big part of your population. So I always realized that there was a huge need to making sure that we had the things available in the language that you speak, because it can create a big barrier. Um, I think one of my biggest highlights, right, that I feel like, um, for example, when COVID started, right, a lot of the information that was available at that time was primarily available in English, right? So if English was not your first language, then it would create a barrier for you to maybe know what was going on, or maybe apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, which later was fixed on as kind of the time went by. But I am passionate about that because I want to make sure that people can feel comfortable reaching out uh, to an agency, but also being able to um, get the information in the language that they're comfortable. Because sometimes, imagine as a business, every business owner, right, has this issue where it's like you're starting the business, you're going to be really good at something, and it's like, oh, there's the permits and requirements, and just trying to read that in English can be really difficult. What is it really saying? And so that's an added barrier there, so everybody can share that. And then if you don't know any English and you're starting your business and you're really good at something, that can essentially drive you away from opening that business. So I think I am passionate about making sure that we have that available, at least within our agency, and that we help individuals. One of the things that I can highlight is our small business guide that we have at ORIA, which is maintained by all the 31 state agencies that create the small business liaison team, and we facilitate that group, which is state agencies that regulate small businesses. We come together to make sure that we create more access to the resources and the different services and programs that are available to small business owners. And one of the most, I guess, the top sellers in the services that we provide is our small business guide, which is translated in 12 different languages. And we're always kind of listening to our customers. So one of the things that we did in our team, which Ellie in our ORIA team, I was like, hey, we should have this in Braille for individuals that are blind and want to start a business. So we made it accessible in Braille. We heard from the Japanese community and the Ukrainian community, like, hey, can we put this in our language? And it's really cool to be able to translate that, make it accessible, and then always having those individuals reach out to be like, hey, I'm starting a business. I just want to know the permits and licenses. So I'm passionate about reducing those barriers and making sure that information is available to everybody, because I reflect on my life. And I'm like, the reason why I'm still here and I'm still improving and getting better is just because there was access to programs and services that opened up to me.
So a follow-up question on that, like, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of people think Stay Awash, they think Stay Awash like a bunch of white people, right? But there is like a Asian community, Vietnam community, Korean community, Ukraine, Somalia, you go on and on, right? So how does your office make sure, like you just talked about, make sure you reach out to all these different communities, because they do have different cultures, different way to speak. How do you make sure like you don't do like a one plan for everyone, but you kind of like tailor it for each culture or whatever?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I love about my job is that, and my team, we're always very big on doing meaningful work, and specifically working with the local community. So what we do is we work with local organizations that are already working with businesses, and we reach out to them to be like, hey, if you ever want to make sure that, like, if you want to have us, come to you and present about some of the services and programs, we can definitely do that. And we always, try to build that trust with them. And we don't go like, hey, we want to lead. We want to make sure they're the ones leading and kind of opening the door for us to do that. One of the communities that I can speak on highly is the Korean community. We build it, the trust with them, and then they started inviting us to their events. And specifically, one of the things that was really cool was that we brought state agencies, and I'm grateful that all the other agencies, from Department of Revenue to LNI and Department of Ecology and Liquor, Cannabis, board were able to come in, and they didn't just present information in English. They try to get everything translated. They try to bring individuals that spoke the language, so that way we could really build that trust with them, and also make sure that we're mindful and that we are giving them the information what they prefer.
So there's a lot of great programs like yours, others in the state of Washington, right? But I don't think most people know about them, right? So is it like your responsibility to like do some kind of publicity thing that people know about it, or is it small business owners' responsibility to find out what is out there for them?
That's a good question. I think definitely, yeah. I think it's definitely, from my perspective, it's like my role. It's my role to make sure that individuals are aware of all this, because sometimes that could just get missed because. Um, when you're starting a business or running a business, you're like, hey, I only have so much time to like, sit down and kind of really kind of see all the ins and outs. And so my biggest thing is making sure that we're building more awareness and that we are bringing those things that can be really useful to a business owner and really have an impact on how they get started or how they grow. For example, Department of Revenue does a tax consultation where a business owner can have somebody from Department of Revenue come out and just walk them through all the things that they need to know. So that way they can have that confidence. And LNI, for example, has the workplace posters that you need. Sometimes we hear from a lot of business owners that they're like, hey, I just get this random letter in the mail and it's telling me that I need to pay $500 for this.
That's such a fucking ripoff. Every time I see those, I get so mad. Oh, that's just free.
Yes.
I have to wonder how many small business owners like waste some money on that scam.
Yeah, and it can be expensive, right? Not that I'm saying don't do it, right? But it's like if you can save yourself some money, it's great. And we also hear that too sometimes from the non-English speaking community where they're like, hey, I don't understand X form, so sometimes they have to pay somebody $1,000 just to file their license and their registration.
Those people have a special place in hell, I think, right? That's just I hate that shit. Yeah, and taking advantage of people like that.
And nothing wrong with that, right? Because it can help you save that time, take that off your plate. But it's like if you can avoid paying that, great. But
yeah.
At least putting that in front of them to know that's enough.
So I don't know any stats, but my perspective, like suppose you take a group of businesses and they're like they've been in America for a generation, right? And another group of businesses like first time immigrants. In my perspective, the first time immigrants business always do better, right? Because it's like have more drive. Is there any stats that can prove that, or is like I'm making this up?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't have any data to say that. I think with like the small business community, it's a very competitive industry, and I think you have to be innovative and be able to adapt.
So how do you work with like I don't know chambers of commerces, different community organizations, SCORE? Because there's like literally thousands of things out there that quote unquote help small business owners. But how do you like navigate and work with all of them?
Yeah, so we make sure that we're always reaching out to different chambers and that we're connecting with them. I think the way it works is we just get a phone call from somebody and they're like, hey, I would like to kind of bring you in or invite you to our meetings. Or I don't think that there's like a specific formula we follow, but we're always open to working with individuals. And I think we take it very, very serious when somebody's like, hey, I would like to invite agencies. And, we make sure that we're connecting those agencies to those chambers as well.
So how much does politics play in this? Like, does it really matter who the mayor is or the city councilman or the local whatever or the governor or the whoever runs the Treasury Department or whatever, or Department of Commerce? Does who's in those offices really matter to small business?
Like, could you ask the question?
Like as far as success, like does it matter like who runs the city government or the who's a mayor, who's a Department of Commerce person, or not internal, but the Department of Revenue, Department of Labor? Does the politics either Republican, Democrat, left, right? What do you want to call it? Does that really matter to success of a small business?
I can't answer that, but I think what I would say is that what I think when I see small business owners, they're always adapting, and that's always so. I think for me, I that's something I always respect because it's like they can adapt, shift things really quick, and I think at the same time, our agency focuses on whatever we do, right? It's we're always connecting with small business owners, and we're always want to make sure we're coming to them, and that if there is a gap or an opportunity, that we can work on those.
Also, like cities in the state of Washington, are they able to like give incentives? Like, I'll make this up. Like, suppose someone says, hey, I want to start a shoe factory, right? Can like to come and say, hey, bring your shoe factory here, we give you like a tax discount, or Olympian might say, hey, bring your shoe factory here, we'll give you like some kind of incentive, right? Are cities able to do that?
Um, I don't know that. I think everybody has a very different approach on how they do things. But I think that in order to know like what they can do, yeah, it's definitely their economic development or their small business teams. And I think that's more something of like the county port. So definitely a question more for them.
Okay. So what's some free resources for small business owners that they need to be using that they're probably not using?
I would start with specifically knowing the agencies that you work with. I think one tip that I would always say, for example, too, with when I was in banking, I would always tell the business owners that were my clients, like, hey, know your banker. Just know what they can do for you, right? Kind of like ask them questions, sit down with them for 1 hour, like making sure that you know who's your banker. So when you pick up so they know that when you call them, you know who they're talking to and you know what they're all about. But I think with state agencies, I think the same way. Hey, if you have 4 or 5 different agencies you're working with, as permits, license, and employees, kind of do some research and see if there's any programs, right, that might be able to help your business, or any opportunities that are coming up that are going to help you. So I would say kind of get to know your agencies and kind of ask those questions of like, hey, do you do this type of stuff? Yes or no? Great. If they do, good.
So your agency, how long has it been around? Is that pretty new agency, or has it been around like forever?
It's been there since forever. So like 2004, probably.
Okay.
Before that. Yeah, actually way longer than that, because I know that we used to do a lot with more on the environmental permitting, and now we have throughout the years, which is before my time, has shifted more towards small business.
And how many people are in your agency?
There's about 10, 11 of us.
Okay, but not really a big number. Think about all the state business you have to cover, right?
Yeah, definitely small agency.
So do you ever like feel overwhelmed with all the work you have to do?
I think I would say I am lucky to work with the people that I work with, because we have a lot of high energy there, and we're always driven to make sure to our mission, which is making sure that we're always helping our customers and responding to them, because what we care about is making sure that we streamline the process, we reduce the cost and time and the complexity of working with agencies.
I might have asked this already, but like, what's one mistake you see small business owners make all the time? You just want to like choke them, like, no, everyone's doing this. Stop doing this.
I think let me see. I think one thing that's very specific to Washington, like I mentioned, that is starting your business not in the right structure, and always shifting that. I think depending on, like, if, for example, sole proprietor to LLC, sometimes people think that's like a graduation process or step process, but it's not. It's more like starting all over again, and kind of doing permits and licenses. But I would say, yeah, that's kind of one thing.
So do you think like most small business owners, like they're open to collaboration, open like getting advice, or do you think most small business owners are like kind of stubborn, right? They're like, no, this is my way, I'm doing it my way. Where if they would just listen to other people, they might be more successful.
I think the way I would say is, it's kind of like, is it meeting your need, right? I think it's more about like, are they getting the right information, right? Or is that the right kind of specific need that they have?
I ask that because I know someone, I don't know, I just heard that this person was a really good cook, right? The food was outstanding, right? But like one of the favorite things on the menu was like chicken wings, but they would only make chicken wings during the springtime, right? And people like asking, when there's something like, we want some chicken wings. Like, no, this is only springtime thing, right? And then supposedly, like, you would think as a restaurant, you're like, no cost of goods, like how much does a tomato cost, all that kind of stuff, right? Plus, you wasn't tracking down that she was just cooking the food, right? And obviously, she went out of business like in like a year, right? And she was like, "Well, how did I fail?" Like, okay, you failed because like you didn't do these basic business things right. And I have to wonder how many business owners, whether restaurant or construction, don't like do cost of goods, don't do the basic details, like don't listen to customers, right? And then they quote unquote fail, and they blame like other people, or they blame the city of Seattle, they blame Tacoma, right? When it's actually kind of like their fault.
Um, I think one of the things that I like to kind of say is that there is a lot of programs and training and workshops that people can take, and they're available. We have those available in our website, business.wa.gov, where you can find some of that. And I think one of the things is that we always say you don't have to do this alone, right? There's help out there, and we can always provide that when it's needed. So
Can you talk about a success case that you've had recently?
I'm trying to think of a specific one. So yeah, we somebody wanted to start selling candles and maybe some like body lotions and kind of like scent oils and different things. And I think one of the things is as they were creating that business plan, they're like, hey, maybe I should check on what permits and licenses do I need to have. And one of the really cool things is that we are an agency. We're mainly like what I call like the navigator. So we direct people where they need to go so they can get that information. And one of the cool things, we were able to connect them to two agencies that have specific permits on what they were selling on. And after talking to that customer, or those agencies talked to that customer, I followed up with them to be like, hey, how was the help? And, you know, what were they really helped you with? And specifically to them was like, well, as I was kind of creating this business plan and the products that I'm selling, I'm going to have to shift some things to make sure that I fit under those requirements. So they were really grateful they did because it was like, how do you promote them, right? Because they're not pharmaceutical, and that's not what they're doing. And also kind of some of the, I guess the different, the things that are made, the candles are made out of certain things, or the lotions and kind of what it has in it, right? Just making sure that they're aware that there's some requirements that they would need to meet if there was a specific percentage that it's meeting, that it has. So anyway, so that was really cool because the business owner is like, okay, great, I have a game plan, I'm moving forward with this, and now I can make sure that I'm following the right permit and license, and also like my product meets those requirements.
So how do you keep from getting too personally involved with your clients?
Yeah, I think it just depends, right? I think sometimes what we want to make sure is we're just directing them to the right information, and we just want to hear from them. Was this helpful or not? Because we want to have that feedback, because if we're not delivering, we want to make sure that we can think about how can we do better.
So how do y'all determine success for your agency?
That's a good question. I think there's some metrics that we follow. So within our website, business.wa.gov, we track how many individuals are viewing our pages and how much time they're spending, and we can see that there has been an increase on our website of how many individuals are going there. The other thing is, as well as the our newsletter that we send out to about 500,000 businesses, which you can sign up on business.wa.gov. But we see how many people are opening their emails and reading that and clicking on the links that we share. But I think overall, I know those are like kind of specific data points that we can see, like, okay, people are really reading this, spending the time. We also just recently created some, like a year ago, like a YouTube video in Spanish, how to start your business, and has over like 5,000 views. And some of our other YouTube videos, you can see that there's a lot of people spending time there. But I think for our, I think what my director likes to say, one business at a time. So that's kind of how we see it. The longest we're helping one customer and getting them to the right answer or pointing up to the right location, that's definitely a win for all of us.
So what's success for you personally?
For me personally, I think is making That's a good question. I think for me, success is making sure that at least for our agency, things are accessible to everybody. I think not knowing or English not being my first language, definitely I'm passionate about making sure that we're mindful about other languages out there, that we make it accessible, that we simplify it, and that it's simple and straight to the point.
And y'all do anything like with the state of state of Washington, with the state of Oregon, state of Idaho, or British Columbia?
We do not
Okay.
not specific. Yeah, not specifically.
Okay.
I know that. So we have what we call the Washington Biz Fair, which is one of the largest government-run small business fair, where we bring essentially about 40 different state, federal, and local organizations to come and connect with small businesses. Last year, we had about 850 businesses attend that conferences, and we know that sometimes they come from all over, could be from California, sometimes Montana, Idaho, and it's a really large fair that we do every September in Puyallup. And I think in 2024, if I'm correct, we also did it all in Spanish. So it was the same thing, but it was like the presentations were in Spanish. The information that we all hand out was in Spanish. So that was really cool to do.
So what is like I'm guessing English is like the number one language. What's like the second most spoken language in Washington? Do you have to know that?
So based on what I would say, English is, I know it's a stat that we just know, and on our data that we track on our website for businesses, we see kind of the top languages, and I know Chinese and Russian, they're like right there next to each other.
Okay.
And then after that, we have Vietnamese, Korean, and I believe Japanese after that. So
Okay, I thought Asian. Yeah. How about Somalia? Is that up there anywhere?
We do see some, like
Okay.
it's a small number, but
But
yes,
more
we do.
Korean, more Asian. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how big of an Asian community there is in the state of Washington. I don't think
Yes, very, very large, and yeah.
Yeah. So for yourself, what's like your personal goal? Do you want to be like director of ORIA in like in 5 years? You want to be VP of a bank somewhere? Like, what's your goal for yourself?
I don't know. It's so I think the way I always see things, it's like in 5 years. So I always do my game plan. And it's like, okay, I think about like, okay, 5 years from now, and right now I'm in like year 3 of like being in this role. But definitely I would say, I think for me it's just making that I learn more.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm passionate about. I took this job about 3 years ago, and it's been interesting just learning about regulations, permits. Not that I'm an expert on that, and not that I ever will be, because there's so many things out there. But what I really love about my job is always learning about a new permit, new license, and I'm big on that. So like, I think whatever allows me to keep on learning and keep on growing, that's what I chase more. Yeah.
So if they gave you the power and you said, "Hey, Hugo, you can get rid of one regulation," what's one regulation that you would like, this has to go?
I don't know that I have a specific one.
Too many to pick from?
Yeah. I don't know that I have a specific one. Yeah.
Okay. So I will get your opinion on this, right? So a lot of people talk negative about the state of Washington, Seattle, the tax or whatever. The fact remains, like, we have Amazon, Boeing, Microsoft. People forget about Trident Seafood. It's $1 billion seafood company up in Ballard. There's all this manufacturing, all the farming, right? I mean, economically, we're a pretty good place to be, right? Why do you think Washington was so successful in business, right, versus other places? Just some of the water, the air, because like, there's something going on here, right?
Yeah.
Starbucks, Expedia, you go on and on. And they were all at one time a small business.
I think I don't know what it is, but from my personal opinion is essentially what you said is literally being in the Pacific Northwest. I think our weather is really great, right? You do get a lot of rain, but I think that's very minimal to the beautiful summers you get here, to the mountains. I think if like you can be, like out in the mountains, out in desert, or out in the water. So I think that's what makes it really unique and a really spot to be at. And also, I think the other thing here is that everybody is friendly and everybody is really nice to each other. And I really love how we support our community and we always are behind each other.
And also, I think people get like the University of Washington is like one of the top colleges in the world. Like people don't realize, the Ivy League education. Like down at Tacoma, there's like 4 or 5 colleges down there. Like we have a very good environment education program here too, I think.
Yes. I think definitely there's a lot of schools. There's a lot of different sectors in here, and we're just super diverse. And I think that's only gonna keep increasing, at least from my personal belief.
So do you happen to know like how many businesses y'all like are taking care of right now?
Total
Yeah.
in the state of Washington, I believe this is what the numbers from last year, and I haven't checked them. But it was about 570,000. So I think we were about closer to getting like 600 and something.
And do you do like different industries tend like do you see how more like maybe restaurants use it more, maybe construction companies, maybe I don't know, mom and pop stores? Is like industry like uses it more? Or is it across the board even?
It's
pretty
across
much?
the board. It could be it could really be anybody.
How about small farmers?
We do once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one for you. So you've been there 3 years. Has there ever been a time where like you were helping a business, you're like, man, they got something here. I might want to quit my job and go work for them.
That's so funny because I think that's a really cool thing because you hear everybody's ideas and kind of what they're working on. So it is really cool. I think on the other flip side, I think being in the regulatory and requirements is kind of seeing what's coming because you're like, oh my God, like you could totally, like if you could shift your business model around that regulation, like you could be ahead of the game and kind of create something unique because so anyway,
So if you were to start a small business, what type of small business would you do?
I think for me, if I had the ambition and kind of wanted to be a risk taker, I would keep it to something that I'm passionate about, and I think would be just making tacos. So like a restaurant, but just heavily focus on that and just being the consistency and making sure that we're doing a lot of them and they're cheap.
I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They do research, top 10 business start, and they start with a business, right? But they're not passionate about it, have no idea about it, right? Because like doing a business can take a long time. You got to do something you're passionate about, right?
Yeah, I think that would be the number one thing I would say. You have to be passionate because you're going to be doing that. There will be long days or when things get difficult. So you want to make sure that you love what you do. And and sometimes, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything big. It could just be something as simple as a taco stand. I even thought about like just doing a hot dog stand, like somewhere in a really busy street where I can just send them $1 and make a profit out of that. But
so down the street, there's a place called there's a Mediterranean restaurant, right? And every night on the weekends, they sell the Seattle hot dogs.
Yes.
Take $8 a pop, and the line's around the corner. Yeah. Every time there's a game, constantly, and it's like they sell like hotcakes. Yeah, $8 a pop, and they're damn good too. Yeah,
that's amazing. So so something simple like that, right? And that's making you money, I think. And we go back to what I mentioned earlier. It's what do you want it to do for you, and what's the outcome?
Yeah. So, what's how does someone reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can go to business.wat.gov. That's our main website where they can find a little bit more about what we do. And also there's the About Us. There's a whole contact sheet where they can contact me or all the other 31 state agencies that are part of the group that we facilitate and the small business liaison team. And also one of the cool things is we have an information center. So we have individuals, an actual person, kind of, intaking calls, text messages, emails. So that way we can get back to you.
But I'm guessing you're not available 24/7, right? There are office hours and stuff like that?
Yep, they're office hours, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what if someone had like an emergency?
That's
what if, of course, what they consider emergency might not be an emergency, of course,
Yeah, so we always try to make sure that we give an answer in 24 hours, right? I think if it's Friday, then Monday we'll reach out to them, but
Okay. We talk about your success. What's something that you're proud of that you accomplished so far?
I think I think keep moving forward. I don't know if that's something that you can kind of, I guess, grab but I think, when I was leaving high school and when I left college, I think my biggest thing, I was like, I feel like I failed, and I was like, but you know what? I'm just gonna keep on moving and see what happens and where I get. And that opened the door to banking, and even within banking, I knew I'm like, I'm not really good at talking with people or selling things or kind of knowing about everything I need to know about finance. But I became really successful because I was always like getting out of my comfort zone. So I think for me is something that I'm really proud of is making sure that I always keep going no matter what.
So let me ask you this. You might not have an answer, or you might not be able to answer it because what you do. So in the state of Washington, they just recently passed this millionaire tax, supposedly, right? And of course, the fear is like, people are going to leave the state, millionaires are going to leave the state, not to pay tax, and they're going to take the jobs with them. Like Howard Schultz from Starbucks just left, right? Do you think that millionaire tax is actually going to have an impact on small business?
No comment on that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. I didn't think you could answer. Yeah. So how do you stay up to date on all the regulation stuff? There's like a class you got to take. You just go to some kind of website to keep up to date. How do you keep track of everything that changes?
Yeah. So the biggest thing why our agency is really successful is because our small business liaison team. So like I mentioned, that's 31 state agencies working together to create access for small business owners and help them succeed, which was created by an executive order. And we come together to talk about things that are coming up for each agency. So whenever there is a change that will impact small businesses, depending if it's big or small, we make sure that we get together and we think about what are some ways that we can share that information to business owners, and how do we stay just kind of familiar with that information. So if that comes up to us, then at least we know, like, hey, point them to this agency or point them to this individual. So we meet every other month, and that's kind of how we stay updated on to what's relevant and kind of what's coming. And we have everybody do presentations on something that is changing. So at least all the other agencies can be aware of what's happening. So in case if a customer calls, then we can relay that information, or they know that they can always share it to us, and then we can provide that to them. But at the same time, for myself, it's just kind of keeping an eye on all the things. And we hear that also too from our local partners as well. So we lean on them too as well, of like, hey, this is a new change that's happening and it's going to have an impact on our businesses. Can we develop more information? Or, hey, like, this is coming up, just FYI, so you can share to everybody.
Does this ever happen? Does a state representative ever come to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this bill, how would it affect small business? Or do you ever see like a bill coming up like, hey, we got to tell this state senator, like, this bill's going to like pretty much like screw over small business, right?
So our agency, we don't get to do, we don't do that. So
Okay.
we just kind of, we are more of like our focus is supporting small businesses primarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't get involved like a law making anything like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I would think like a representative, like they would come to y'all, hey, y'all doing regulatory stuff. How can I help small business, but maybe I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for the most part, because we are in the governor's office, we leave that to those specific.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So you've been there for 3 years, and you were a banker before then. What made you apply for this job? I mean, you're a banker, access to billions of dollars every day, free money, 0% loan. Of course, I'm joking around, of course, but yeah. What made you want to do this kind of work?
I'm always passionate about helping others, and I think banking, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a high stress job and really very competitive, and I always kind of enjoy numbers and kind of try to like win for my team. And I think, I got to the point after, like I mentioned, COVID, I was like, I want to make a different change and want to do something that I'm more passionate about, which is helping others. And I started looking for different jobs, and I found this one, I think out of like just Google search that I did, and I was like something on small business or economic development, and I read the description and I was like, I think I fit all those, but I was like, just me being me, I'm like, but working for the governor's office, I'm like, I don't even think that I would get a call or they'll even bother to look at my resume. And I think I was very lucky to have a call, and then after that, just a lot of interviews. But primarily, yeah, I just wanted to do something to give back to my community because that's what I was passionate. That's what I'm passionate about.
So let's suppose a small business goes to your help, right? Suppose they have like 10 employees, they make, we'll say $50,000 of revenue, whatever. When is it when a small business gets too big, where y'all say, hey, you have 600 employees, you're making $10 million a year, you have to go somewhere else now?
Um,
Or once a customer, always a customer?
yeah, we serve all types of businesses.
Okay.
That the size does not matter. I think the big focus has been recently, small business, going to rural areas across Washington. But every customer, and even if you're not a business owner, right, you might be an individual that you're like, hey, I'm just fixing this, and I need to get a permit or environmental permit. Like, we help those too.
Is there any stats out there that show, like, like open a business in Seattle, you're more likely to be successful versus open a business in a town with maybe 200 people? I know it's hard regardless, but
there's not a study specific where you can compare that.
Yeah. I mean, you would think, I don't know, I think Seattle would be better because there's more customers potentially, but then there's more regulations, more stuff going on. Where in the small cities, less customers, but maybe less regulation. I don't know. I'd be interested to see that stat, like urban versus rural. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I don't, not that I'm aware that there might be a study on that specific.
And y'all do anything like I know a lot of colleges have like a DECA, like small business programs. Y'all do anything like any colleges?
Our agency does not specifically, but and this is, like I mentioned, because we get to work with 31 agencies, so sometimes I hear about different things. But Department of Commerce, my startup 365, they have a program called Scale Up. So if you're a business that you're growing and everything is going good and you want to hit that 2 million mark, one of the things, Department of Commerce, and I don't know if they're still doing it now or if there's openings, but like they have my my Scale Up, and it's a class where it's like about $1,800, but it gets that fee gets waived, and businesses can apply to be part of that program. And it's basically one-on-one training with other business owners on how to scale up your business.
How about businesses that do import export, like they export stuff like say Vietnam or China? Do y'all do stuff with businesses like that also?
So we might answer some questions for them in terms of what is the permitting process looks like. So one thing kind of like I should highlight, so like Department of Commerce, I always like to highlight them because it's like, well, what's the difference between ORIA and Department of Commerce? So Department of Commerce focuses primarily on developing small business owners, right? So that being like bringing more tools, resources for them, and our agency is more on the requirements, permits and licenses. So on the permits and licenses, sometimes if there's specifically a business that's coming from abroad to Washington, or they want to move here, they're like, hey, what do I need to know about permits and licenses? And that's where we put the research together for them so they can know that. And also for businesses that might want to go outside, it's like, hey, where do I even go learn about that? Or where can I start that? And what are some of the services and programs available to me? So we share that information to them as well.
So obviously there's all these different programs that they're watching. Like do you know a guy named Jay Lyman at the Seattle Public Library?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, fucking great guy, right? Every time I tell him, you need market research, go to Jay. He'll do he's a great guy. But there's so many resources, right? So many places of information, right? It can be overwhelming, right? How do you recommend a small business owner like decipher all this information out there, all these agencies that go to the one that they need right then?
Yeah, I think what I would say, because yes, there is a lot of programs, a lot of information. Like sometimes it could be too much, right? And by the end you end up with a stack of papers and a lot of things. So I would say kind of first know what you really need and try to specifically focus on that. And I think kind of reduce the noise. And if it's if specific to that agency, kind of go there and ask those questions. But I think if you don't know, they can always come to our agency and ask us that question, and we can help them.
Yeah, Jay, I'm such a big fan of Jay.
Yes,
that guy, he does so small. He does so much for small business, and people know about him. They don't know about him, right?
Yeah.
Every time I do a lot of startup events and like tech networking, every time I help with marketing, go see my guy Jay. He'll break it down for you.
Yes. Yeah. I have met him a couple times, and I know he does that market research class that he does, and I'm like, and sometimes it's funny because hear about all the workshops that are happening and trainings, and I'm like, you know, maybe after this job, I'm gonna get to actually attend those workshops.
Yeah. And real quick,
Yeah.
quick shout out to Kim Sauer for introducing us.
Yes.
So shout out to Kim. So Kim works at the state of Washington too, right?
Yes.
But I think the Department of Enterprise something.
Department of Enterprise Services. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So shout out to her. Thanks for the introduction or whatever. Is there anything I should haven't asked you? Anything else you want to talk about? Give me anything: business, personal, Veracruz, Mexico.
I think two reminders: just business.wa.gov website to go for questions that you might have. And then the second thing is signing up to our newsletter. That's where we share a lot of information, and we try to compile multiple content from multiple agencies where we make it as short and quick for individuals to just kind of read through that, and it gets sent out every second Thursday of the month.
And y'all have like any events or anything going on that people can attend or check out?
Yes. So within our business.wa.gov, the small business requirements and resource workshops. So if you go into business.wa.gov, there will be a tab. You can click on there and you can see if we're going to your community where essentially we bring 8 state agencies and we talk about all the different services and programs that are available. And that's run by Secretary of State. The other really good one is if you're somebody that you're starting and specifically want to know a little bit more about, hey, what is the requirements that I like, the application process, the steps that I need to take with the state. We do start your business class where we'll have essentially our agency. We talk about the resources that's there if you need more guidance, and we have Secretary of State that talks about you know, how to register your LLC, Department of Revenue, what you need to know about your taxes and all the classes that they have, and how you get your license. And also we have LNI and ESD that talk a little bit more about if you have employees, what you need to know.
How can this happen? Like, suppose I'm making this up. Suppose there's a coffee shop, we'll say in Grand Washington. They're gonna say, hey, can you come to Grand Washington and do all the stuff in Grand Washington? Like, kind of like state of business request y'all to come to them to do workshops?
Yeah, definitely. So we can, we always are working with the local chambers, or if there's a specific, you know, business group, reach out to us at business.wa.gov or our ORIA website. And we can always kind of try to accommodate them and make sure that we're going out there. So one thing that I want to give a shout out to Kim this was really cool. So Kim was like, hey, you know, we want to make sure that we're connecting with the Korean community. So we were able to get agencies to go out there and talk to the Korean community. And one of the things that was like really unique about her doing that was because, and also grateful that all the agencies are doing this and that we try to be meaningful about the work we do, where specifically they're like, hey, the best day that works for us was a Sunday. So we were able to get state agencies there on a Sunday.
Nice. So back to like your immigrant journey, right? Let's suppose there's someone out there, like pretty much the same situation, like 60 years old, they're kind of undocumented. They're like, man, what is going on in the world? What advice do you have for them?
I think definitely to be resilient. Things can change, and just be ready. I think that's one of the be ready for that change, and be able to kind of prepare. I think that's one of the things that I've always think about, because I didn't finish my 4 years at University of Oregon, and that's something that I definitely regret, because I'm like, I just want to go back and finish my undergrad.
You always can, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have to cut out a mountain bike and a skydiving, you know.
Yeah, to be able to afford it. And yeah, so I think definitely
all the time to do it.
Yeah, time. Yeah, it's like, so I would say be ready, because things can change, and you never know. So I think that's one of the things that I would just want to tell them: be ready when things change, and also prepare, because you never know when that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think I heard something the other day. I really like resonate. Like, a lot of people like want opportunity, but a lot of times opportunity knocks, but it can knock. It's not gonna open the door for you, right? Like, if it knocks, you still have to open the door, right, and do the hard work, you know. And wasn't another saying too? Opportunity knocks, but it sounds like hard work, you know.
Yes, yeah, it's a lot of hard work, and gotta be ready for that. And yeah.
So regardless of stage of small business owners out where they're starting or kind of successful, What's your advice to small business owners in the state of Washington?
I think just one advice, or like just anything.
As many as you want, yeah. Just feel free to talk for 30,000 hours, yeah.
No, I would say. I would say one thing to know is that there's help out there, and I think knowing that we want to make sure that they're successful, right? Business.wa.gov is the first thing, and I think there's a lot of resources out there. So I would say, reach out, ask for that help, and we'll try to connect them. And I think, and then the other thing is making sure that, that you use all of those resources.
Hugo, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And so, listeners, just a reminder, I'm speaking at Military CuraCon April 16th to April 18th. If you're in Dallas, come check me out. Thanks for your time, and remember,